What's up guys, Ronnie here and welcome. The last season has concluded. Now we are up for a new one. We have the patch notes. I already read through them preemptively and let the patch notes marinate for a bit so I can give you a better, more educated opinion on it. And my oh my, some of these changes are quite significant, let me tell you that much, guys. So of course, we have the new units. I can't really go too much about into the new units as it heavily depends on their stats. And then I can make a video on them specifically when we know their stats, which is tomorrow. But we have these changes. Starting up with the Linglo. Linglo basically just has now, instead of a 75%, an 85% to cleanse a debuff and 85% to apply a Whale Prayer. Now, honestly, would have been better if this would be like 100% and this would be maybe still a 70% or a 60% chance to apply the Whale Prayer. They went with this, so you still have some RNG in there, but it's quite a significant change in terms of her consistency, in terms of getting some cleanses in. And also the base speed is quite nice. Her base speed was actually quite high for a unit that has been in the game since release. So now she's at max speed, I think 139. And then we have the big one, in my opinion, or one of the big ones, and that is Aya. Aya has been a unit that has been picked to specifically counter certain units, and still it was a flip, right? And now 2 debuffs is quite significant because, for example, if you have Aya and you get unlucky with the cleanses, chances are you still have all the debuffs up that you don't want to have, right? If you're up against the Plume and you want to get rid of the D-breaks, if you're up against a Nevet and you want to get rid of the Petrify, for example, and so forth. So this is gonna be, this is a big one. This is a big one, especially as there have been some changes to the shells as well. So Aya will not be able to be full controlled. Because I had games, guys, where I picked Aya, right? And the enemy had a Nevet. And my entire team didn't take a single turn for 30 turns straight. And then Selins. Now Selins is going to be having her shield value from her passive shield that she applies every time turn increased. And the initial shield that she gives at the start of the battle increased. Now the initial shield has already been very high anyways. It's just that Senu, being the main kind of cleave unit that has been used, has a strip, so doesn't really care, just strips the shield, then goes for it. Now they increased that shield to 40%. The big one really is this, and also 100% damage absorption and the base speed. 3 increased base speed. So with that base speed, she's gonna have significant speed increases, and also the damage absorption being 100% means that if the enemy is running some DPS without strips, they're probably just killing themselves trying to do anything into the team with Selins, especially if the Selins team is cycling a lot, or just the Selins is cycling a lot. So that reflect is gonna hurt. That reflect is gonna hurt a lot. Then another one that is quite big is Lilium. Now Lilium is now not immune to control effects and turn meter minus effects, but immune to debuffs. To all debuffs and cooldown increase effects and turn meter effects. Which means Ditting will not be able to cuck her. Which means the Nevet block buffs will not be able to cripple her as well. Which means a Death Break will not be able to make her just get one-tapped, or a Santic will not be able to just reset her, or a Holton will not be able to just reset her. This one is very interesting, because now we've also some shell adjustments that we have. You could do a few things here and there with the Lilium, but you could also, what I'm thinking immediately is, when there is no defense break, and you have a team that can somewhat guarantee the Lilium to take a turn, as long as you can guarantee the Lilium to take the turn, she's not going to die that easily if she's not getting death broken and you have the right setup. And then, depending on the enemy, if they don't have a strip, of course, Law of Silence, very nice. But if they have a strip, you could just run a Tiger Djinn on her. Just run the Tiger Djinn and with her with Bloodbath and Harvest on the Tiger Djinn. And she all of a sudden will be able to do some work there. And not just be folded like a piece of paper. So she needed some help and she got it. She got that help. Question is really, can she now survive long enough until she gets that turn without that without debuffs being applied to her? That's the main thing that is going to be the decider for her, mostly. Because if she gets the turn, then she can do a lot of work, especially, yeah. Then the Heinrich also got some changes to his passives. First up, he has a 60% chance to dispel a buff instead of a 50%. And then, quite significant one here is he has a 1-turn silence that he can inflict and a 2-turn wound on the S2. So if the enemy, for example, has 1 unit on Bulwark, right? You go into that enemy on Bulwark, you strip that Bulwark of them, and then you just AoE silence the other ones and wound them. And then on the other hand, you have deal 3 hits, and then he has a 100% chance to inflict block instead of 65. I think that's solid, right? Also, significant increase in speed. They're really upping the speed of the earlier units, as the newer units just had way more base speed, which was quite rough for some of these units, especially for a unit that needs speed like Heinrich. So that speed is also quite a big one, actually, and also him being a little bit tankier is nice, of course. But yeah, Heine getting some love. Then Veronica. Hold on, now I've been picking Veronica quite a bit at the end of the season on a Moon Bunny build to counter the Mias. Now with a 60% push, think about it, 60%, not 35, 60. You probably can just push over a Mia, if they don't have a Freya, that is, even without the Moon Bunny, right? So that is going to be quite significant. And then you could still run that Moon Bunny, because, and then also, yeah, I think Veronica has had a spot in her place at the end of the season as a tech pick. And now with this, you have definitely some room to punish certain units, especially also, for example, units that are forced to AoE, like Mia that really kind of wants to AoE, units like Plume that are forced to AoE will always have to push her up, and especially Plume. Plume is quite an underrated unit these days. She's very strong. And then also the Veronica getting a 100% chance to steal instead of 80. I think that's solid, right? It can be very much a game loser for you if you just miss that steal, and then it's over. Nymphonial getting cooldown decrease to 3 turn on her S2 makes sense. Reason why they do this is so if she's on Codex, you can then go S3, S2, S3, S1, S2. Or something around that, right? So she has some more longevity in the fight. Then the Lilith is an interesting one. And the change they made is that she now with her S1 detonates the bombs on the target that she focuses. Which I'm not sure if the Lilith even wants that to happen in certain scenarios. Because sometimes, I've played a lot of Lilith actually at the end of the season. Caught everyone off guard, and they all did not take any turns. And what I usually did is against the Sanyas. And if they didn't have some form of cleanse, maybe they had maybe they felt like they're safe with a Xuan Li or something like that. Thought she's not going to get stunned. Maybe they thought they're safe with a Mian, something like that. I dropped that Lilith in there. And I CC'd the Sanya, for example. And then afterwards, I focused the Jean Li with the S1s because she doesn't have counter nor strife on her gear, more often than not. But now I would apply the stun earlier on that Jean Li if I were to do that. And sometimes you kind of want to hold on to that stun because let's say she has Graceful Mischief, and in the next turn the unit takes the turn, it explodes and stuns them. This will be basically a 2-turn stun for the people that are not knowers, because when the unit takes turn and the Graceful Mischief is about to explode, they take their turn, it explodes, they skip their turn, and then they're stunned after they skip their turn. So it's basically a 2-turn stun. Now if you activate it earlier, it's a 1-turn. Now this, at the same time though, can make Lilith a lot more a unit that you need to think about what you're doing. And I do like that. Because there are certain units where you just press S3 any day of the week. You're not thinking about anything else. You're just pressing. You don't really think, should I hold, should I not hold? And this gives her quite a lot of things to think about in that aspect. That said, I'm not too sure if she really wanted that. I'm not too sure. Maybe she needs it, maybe not. We will have to see how that really comes to play. Then the Palin actually got a bigger one than I thought at the beginning, as they teased. And that is while gains 1 immunity, applies immunity to the ally that she's paired with, which is quite significant. Then also her buff getting gold, also interesting. But the big one, Palin, well, actually this one is quite wild as well here, the immunity. But another big one here, vulnerable and defense down. Change to defense down. Defense down is one of the strongest debuffs in the game, guys. One of the strongest debuffs in the game. She got that now on her S2, so her S2 is actually going to be a very solid ability. It's going to be a very solid ability. And her S1 is also now going to be a very solid ability because you can apply immunity. And this, again, what I like on that is now you can decide, okay, do I want the immunity or do I want the defense down? Depending on the situation you're in. It's another one where you now again have options to think and also blunder during the game. Right? There's also chances for you to blunder during the game, which I do like. I do like that quite a bit. Then Lily getting buffs. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Now, the turn meter effect is going to be 35% instead of 30. So she will push a little bit more. And then here, her chance to increase cooldowns is heavily increased. Now, we've seen quite a bit of a cooldown increase meta unfold during the last season. We've seen quite a few fast lilies unlock in the higher ranks as well. Just go fast lily, reset everyone. You start with S3. Now they made this a bit stronger than it was previously. Yeah, but I think she already previously, you know, with enough F accuracy was able to get to that 90% chance to increase the cooldown. So this is kind of, honestly, this is kind of nothing burger here, I feel like. Then Asol, guys. Asol got a whole essay, and this is actually quite a lot. Let's go into it, guys. I've liked I've played some Asol at the end of the season, but she is very hard to find a spot for and very niche. And now these are a lot of changes. So first and foremost, first change to her skill 1 is going to be each hit, not just the first hit, she does a double hit, has a 40% chance to steal a buff from the target. And not just the last hit will inflict a stack of presence, which lowers the enemy's defense and HP and so forth and attack, but both of the hits. So she applies 2 hits of presence to the enemies with her S1 and can steal 2 buffs, possibly, with her S1. Then her exclusive passive of Immortality gets another bonus effect, and that is when attacking, each stack of menace she has increases the damage dealt by 5%. Okay. Hold on now. Unending. When Asol takes lethal damage while an ally is alive, consumes 1 stack of unending, which is this right here, to prevent death. After the attack skill ends, drains 10% of each ally's current HP to 5% of each ally's current HP and restores 300% instead of 200% of total HP drained. And increases, this is the main part about this, if she gets killed, quote unquote killed, she increases her turn meter by 35% and purifies all debuffs from herself. 35% turn meter push for herself when she gets targeted. That is quite big. It is quite big because she didn't have any way to take turns by herself. She was very reliant on someone like a Aaron to make her get her stuff out, do her thing. And now she has a punish if she gets focused down of 35% turn meter. Then on top of that, increases the additional damage per stack of menace to 7.5% damage at level 3, if you skill it up. Then on the Hellfire, the skill 2, what they changed is instead of per stack of menace, increases this skill's damage by 15%, inflicts 3 stacks of presence on a non-boss target and grants herself 3 stacks of menace. So she will stack up the menace a lot faster. And then you think, okay, but she's gonna now stack up the menace a lot faster. Isn't that gonna be broken? Well, let's have a look. Asol gets 2 hits of 240% damage to a single enemy. The final hit, each hit inflicts 3 stacks of presence on a non-boss target and grants herself 3 stacks of threat. Here they say threat, here they say menace. Which means that's 6 stacks of presence, guys. 6 stacks of presence off of 1 single ult. Wait. Each stack decreases the target's attack and the defense HP percent by 5%. So 6 stacks after 1 ultimate, that's a 30% attack down, defense down, and HP drain after 1 single ult. That's a lot. That's a lot. And then her S3, instead of having that 15% bonus damage per stack of menace that she has, it's getting changed to this one right here, that she gets the bonus damage, overall damage increase, not just for her S2, for her S3 per stack of menace, but less because she gets menace a lot faster. Then each stack decreases. Oh, never mind. Forget what I said. This applies also to presence. Okay, so each stack of presence, the HP drain here, does now decrease their HP and defense and everything by 3% instead of 5. And it goes up to 20 instead of 10. Okay. And also for the menace, her self buff, attack, defense, and its max HP goes down to 3%, up to 20 stacks. Gets both of these stacks a lot faster, gets less value per stack, and has some extra utility here. And there's a lot of changes. There's a lot of changes. And from all of these changes, I'm gonna test her. First thing I do when the new season starts, I'll be there testing her, because there's so much. It is impossible to have a proper evaluation on her power level after so many changes in one single patch to her. Because this is not the only change that she gets. She also got the change to her shell that she likes. So this is a lot of changes here. Then Holton just always gets a buff. Gets a base speed increase, so you can use him more efficiently on a fast build so you can reset other units. Then Kethos getting the nerf. So here we get to the nerfs. He gets a damage nerf on the S1. He gets a damage nerf on the S2. He gets a damage nerf on the S3, getting damage nerf all across the board. But the damage is not really what matters. We do not care about the damage. What we care about is this right here. This is the line that matters here. Whenever an enemy Animus actively uses a skill, gains 1 stack of Kongel. After Kongel is triggered, Bloodrite enters not a 3-turn but a 4-turn cooldown. Because previously with that 3-turn cooldown, he was just able to control the entire enemy team by himself. Because he took a turn, he pushed the enemy back, took another turn, reset them, then took a turn thanks to this. Yeah, it was just he was just taking turns left and right, and he just cycled. So this is the thing that matters here. This right here is what matters in terms of Kethos. Now Sinew getting a nerf here from 90% multiplier to 80%, and this is gonna hurt the cleavers a bit here. Especially now the question here that I thought, I was like, Sinew getting nerfed. I thought I would have first looked at Santic, for example, or Freya, something like that. But the Sinew getting nerfed here tells to me that possibly the factory feature that is going to come in that can enhance your units, they are probably or were probably worried that a heavy hitter like Sinew, with the bonus stats from that factory that you'll get, will deal too much damage. This is what I think is probably what was on their mind when they were thinking about that. Then the Bornova change I like a lot. Right, Bornova was such an RNG unit in Nether Quarry. He was so annoying to play with Nether Quarry, but he was the best for Nether Quarry because he was specifically made for it. Now they reduced his turn meter gain, so his damage output is not so heavily reliant on the Battle Will procs. And they increased the chance here on the S2 of getting that festering invulnerable to guaranteed. And they changed here. When a target with festering stacks takes damage to a non-basic attack from Bornova. This is a big one. They really changed all the RNG. It's additional damage equal to 40% instead of 20% of his attack. So they just wanted to remove a lot of the RNG. The complaint's been heard. The complaint's been heard, which I'm very, very glad about. Then Valyan getting the Nerf hammer as well. Now, honestly, actually, I'll go over the unit that I would have thought would probably deserve the Nerf. But Valyan getting the Nerf hammer from 12 to 10%. And shield stacks cap to 1 stack. Wait. Is Valyan just butchered completely? Wait. Okay, hold on. I didn't even realize that. They might have just butchered her completely. Wait. Okay, that's kind of crazy. Okay, now with the Valyan being out of the meta, then the Sinew nerf makes more sense. And then the turn dot nerf, reducing her bonus attack that she gives and reducing her turn meter push ability to 25% nerf. Now I initially thought, in terms of power level, Iron is one of these units that is insanely strong. But the thing is, he's the current banner. You cannot really you can't nerf him. You can't. But going into the shells, there are some shells that got buffs and units that got buffs that work together with these shells. So let's go into these. First and foremost, we have the Ace Batter Now his initial cooldown is 0 turns, and his damage multiplier is increased as well, which is a solid buff, especially considering that all these changes happen to the Asol, and now this buff as well, because you want to run Asol on Ace better with Battle Will. And now the Ace better also became better. And likely she's also better. So this is an interesting one here. Now Artisan has been butchered basically, or just what didn't see any play at all. Outside of some rare Holtons that were paired with Turn Dot. Yeah, Artisan now getting a buff back, right? It was reduced from, I think, 400% to 300, now getting to 350. The Law of Silence gets, once you trigger this, instead of just a 10%, a 30% attack boost. So quite a significant attack boost once you get out of it. And then Reaper Steps. We have another buff as well here for Reaper Steps. Instead of 20%, 25% push. And then we have the Doomcrow, because Doomcrow was just better than every other DPS shell, getting a 30% damage decrease here from 240% to 210%. So all of these changes, they have some weight behind them. They do have some weight behind them. Especially the Aya one combined with buffs to the shell. Also we have the Ace better one with the Asol. Asol is gonna be super hard to know what's gonna be with Asol. Doomcrow. This is basically a nerf to Rahu and Zhuanli. Now Zhuanli has seen some play without Doomcrow as well. In Freya drafts, for example, some of them run there still with Doomcrow, but some of them ran her on full speed with something like a, can I say it, Amber on the Zhuanli. Which just now, it gives more room for you to make more decisions in terms of these defense scalers, what the best shell is for them. And it's not just going to be Doomcrow that is just out-damaging and out-valuing everything by a large margin. Now, the big ones that I like the most, Bornova first and foremost, massive. Now, looking at this, Valyan is insanely hit. Turn Dot got hit as well, together with the Val. So the two Awakenings. Senyu got hit, but Senyu again, not sure. Senyu got hit, Kethos got hit, but this matters. Where are the ones that matter here? The Asol is a big one. Palin, I think this immunity right here is quite interesting. And also the defense down is also very interesting. And then the Veronica guys. 60% turn meter push. Oh my days. Cycling is gonna go nuclear on the Veronica. This is insane cycling that she's gonna have. Then Heinrich has some interesting changes as well. Lilium is a big one. Selins could be very scary if you're not drafting any cleansers or healers and you have some heavy hitters. They might just kill themselves against the Selins. And the Aya is also a big one. So this time, I think we've seen quite significant changes actually. And initially I was a bit skeptical when I saw the new units. I was like, oh, they look kind of worrying. But they already were like planning ahead about the new units from the looks of it, with the likes of Aya buff and so forth. And it's going to be very interesting. I like that patch. I can tell you that much. I like that patch a lot. Veronica buffed, Nymphonial buffed, deserved. Heine buff, Lilium buff, it looks very sexy. Vero buff looks very sexy. Aya buff looks sexy. Selid's skin looks, Linglo skin looks sexy. And once I saw she's getting a skin, I was certain she's gonna get some kind of buff. So she's getting a buff. I mean, but yeah, I think these changes, the changes that they made, in this buff. They look in this change are very, very good. Very good. Overall, I mean, this one, like this one doesn't really matter. It's only this one that matters here. But outside of that, I think they all hit more or less what kind of held some of these units back. Now the Vero, again, 60% per meter push is unheard of. The Lillian looks also interesting. Aya looks interesting. Valerian looks kind of dead. Shell changes look solid as well. Overall, W patch. I'll be honest, I was skeptical. But hey, it's better to be skeptical and then just get pleasantly surprised, right? So I like that patch. Let me know how you guys feel about it, or if there's certain units that you would have liked to see get touched as well. I know some people would have liked Shiada to be touched, as Shiada is just one of the fan favorites, and she just has gotten some buffs, but she never really managed to pull through. And it doesn't look like she's gonna be able to do so in this current season as well. Either way, I wish you all a blessed day. I'm Ronnie. Stay tuned for more coming soon, and I'm out. Peace.